Okay. We should be live everywhere. I do use Photoshop. Sketchy, what's going on? Welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. You might recognize some of these references. Marlon, great to have you. Mr. J.C. Joseph something Leyendecker. Alright, I want to get the essence of Mr. Leyendecker. I want to actually figure out how and why. I don't just want to take note that, oh, he just like does little hatch marks and that kind of thing. I want to see if I can sort of figure out, reverse engineer, and see if we can get like a hint of that essence, understand the whys behind his decision making versus just doing let's just whip some cross hatching in there, you know what I mean? SFR, how you doing? Bug stuff, welcome. Lack of sugar, hello, hello. Raggle Fraggle, welcome. Mubashir, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for popping in. We'll wait for a few more people to roll in. So yeah, my plan is to maybe start off with a couple of studies, which will be fun to see if we can figure out some stuff. Then I would like to do a sketch of my own, maybe just a head, just like a face, and then see if we can capture some of that understanding. All right, so we've got to sort of see if we can break it down. Kentas, hi Ben, turning 30 today. I'm here to celebrate during your live. Kentas, welcome to the club, my friend. 30s are great. I mean, I've only done it for one and a bit years, but happy birthday. SFR is 3:45 a.m. What are you doing? Prioritize your sleep. This can wait. So yeah, one thing with Leyendecker, that you see the shapes, right? It's like really, really like blocky shapes. But what you'll notice is the cross hatching as you start to. Also, I've added some reference. Areeb, thanks for popping in. Appreciate you. I'll pop some of the Pinterest reference because I've made a little board. Leyendecker. Edit board, is it private? Keep this board secret? No. So here you go. If you want the link there, the link there. And then we should all be caught up. Get whatever references that make sense to you. And I think we should just start off with, so this is like a super close up. You get ultra close up, it's like very simplistic looking, like it's just a little thing there for the chin, but there's like it's all in context, which makes it very tricky to kind of figure out. So yeah, the crosshatch marks, from what I can gather, sometimes they're like a forethought, like they're not put in after. Sometimes they're actually the canvas underneath, which is kind of nuts. Hasib, thanks for popping in. IIFHD1, hi from Saudi Arabia, great to have you. So yeah, going to start with a little study. I'm just trying to pick what one I can get the most out of. Maybe we do this fella, because there's I think we can gather some things from this. So even before Riri, me too. I love JC. I've got his book. It's fantastic. Before just going straight ham and just like starting to do some pen to paper or stylist to screen, I think we should analyze some stuff. Maybe even write a couple of notes, which I like doing sometimes, particularly when I'm trying to learn stuff, okay? So one thing I'm seeing here is even within these shapes, all right, I'm thinking purely color right now. There is transitions. So there's transitions within shapes with the color, all right? So how do we transitions within shapes, color transitions within shapes, okay? Now there's a clear delineation, at least in this little study, of the lights and the darks, all right? So we could really simplify those shapes down. And then let's say there's very minimal blending, I think, from what I can gather. So there's blending within the shapes, but not so much between the shapes. But sometimes there is. I don't know. This is what this is all about. Let's find out. All right. Let's. So the big takeaway at the moment, instead of trying to overload our brains, color transitions within the shapes. Let's see if we can get some resemblance. I don't know if that's a word. I think that's a word. Of old mate. What's his face here? Let us begin. Welcome to the stream. So I'm just going to do a quick sketch so we've got something to work within. All right, just trying to get that big envelope shape. So yeah, then we're going to hopefully take some of these learnings and do a little study of our own on our own character and just pick up just a little Christian. You got to pay for that. Semblance, Ashlyn, potentially. I don't know. All right, let's get a little. What am I even doing here? Let's think. So this is very analytical. Just trying to match the shapes somewhat. And if it's off, that's not what we're focusing on at the moment. I want to get the essence of the technique. If I was focusing on proportions, that'd be another thing, right? Oh, mate, you whip a couple of zeros on that. I appreciate it. But you whip a couple of zeros on that, then we can start talking. Not a couple of zeros. I'm not talking 100. A couple of zeros on top of that. Imagine. Okay. So I'm worried just about the simple shapes to begin with. As always, nothing new. Simple shapes are going to help us get everything in order. The least details, the better at this stage. X and Flax, hi Ben, finally catch one of your lives. Thanks so much for such detailed and amazing drawings. You really are an inspiration. I hope you have a great rest of the stream. Appreciate you, Exum. Thanks for popping in. Fat Cappy, how you doing? Now, if I'm being Abdo coming here after 2 months, think you remember me. It helps me to break it down to simple shapes. Learned it from you. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for popping in again. If I'm being honest, the energy here is a little bit low. And hopefully the regulars are in here by now that might know who I'm talking about. Last week we had to say goodbye to my little boy Ollie, which is not the best thing in the world. So it's yeah, the energy just a smidge low. We'll be back to high energy next week. It's just yeah, not the best week ever. But yeah, for those of you that are regulars would know, little Ollie's he was my little office helper. So yeah, that's why it's not the. If I seem a little bit off, do you know why now? Yeah, little puppy. No, sorry, I should have said no. Sorry, fuck. Yeah, no, it was my dog. Yeah, Fat Cat, good call. That's what I said. For those that were like OGs, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, good call, Fat Cappy. I appreciate it. Yeah, allow me to clarify that if I just left it at that. Yeah, no, it's all good. All good. Nothing you can do about it. So we'll just keep chuffing on. But yeah, if things are just a little bit lower, you never know. Leyendecker could get us out of the funk. We'll see. We'll miss the faint barking. Oh, there's still going to be faint barking. He wasn't the barker. Winston's still around. He's still trotting around the place. Yeah, so we'll just keep it chill. Casey, welcome back, my friend. Excellent. Yeah, I do. He was he's my favourite little dude. Alright, so we're getting some do you have a fun story to share about Ollie that would be comfortable sharing? Maybe. Don't particularly want to get emotional on stream. I'm more on the private side with that sort of stuff, so we'll see. We'll just stick to the let's see if I can think of one. I thought they were a regular viewer. Yeah, no, it's my dog. Fuck. Yeah, sorry. Should have put some fucking disclaimer. Yeah, so it should have. Yeah, bit a bit clearer. Lava, what's going on? I appreciate it, Casey. Happy to catch some more studies. Hope your Sunday is going well. It's my Monday at the moment, but appreciate you. Yeah, living in the future in comparison to some other people around the place. I think particularly in America. Yeah, might leave it for another day. Yeah. No, I appreciate you, Fat Cappy. Yeah, time zones. Time zones fucking suck. Try making meetings in Australia with the fucking rest of the world in the American time zones. Good luck. Yep, Sunday here in America. All right, starting to get something happening. Really just giving myself, what's the word? I guess just like shapes to paint within. All right, just need something to give us a bit of a little something, you know. Otherwise, feel like we'd be flying blind. We just built different. I'm the one that fought for living in the wrong country. Oh, fat cappy. Fat cappy. I mean, who the hell lives in Australia? Apparently Australia isn't even a real place. News to me. How's the future looking? Not a joke you've heard a million times, I'm sure. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Everything's going to be all right. Yeah, so no stress. You're fine. I mean, who the hell lives in Australia? Spiders, kangaroos, true. I didn't have much choice. I was born here, but I love it here. But I also love America as well. Oh yeah, that one conspiracy dude. Oh, what a dickhead. All right. Cock around and find out. Ashland, good call, good throwback. We gotta make that a thing eventually. It's Monday afternoon for me, so I confirm that the future is doing well. Yeah, it's not too bad, right? Not too bad. Cool. All right, let's get some of these hair shapes in. All right. Now from here, let's start blocking in. I want to do color as well, right? So I want to use Filthy because I'm not worried too much about the brush. What's the word? The brush stuff. I'm kind of going to figure out I don't know, just the blocking in of stuff. Let's see what we can do. So I'm not going to be tempted to do any like little like cross-hatchy things trying to get the quote-unquote the style. I want to get the understanding. I want to live in New Zealand. Only ever been to the airport. Only ever been to the airport there. So I'd like to visit. So what I want to do, I want to try and process this out. So let's block in. I'm not even going to necessarily worry about the little hatch marks because they seem like an afterthought. Because for example, if you did the inverse, if you added the hatch marks, no, if you remove the hatch marks from this, still looks sick. Still looks freaking awesome. But if you had a shit everything else, but you kept the hash marks, different story. Priorities. Priorities. I shall never forget about it. I do think about it whenever I see anyone like do the meme like the fuck around and find out. The quack around and find out does slip into my mind. I can never seem to be able to draw with these big shapes, you know. I always seem to hit some kind of fat cappy. A bit of a stretch. I'll give it a 5.5. 5.5, not bad. Feels like I'm getting back into art because I'm struggling to get a sketch in. Start small, my friend. Bug stuff. Start small. and something that you're interested in. Now we've got to take note here as well. Reflected light, gonna ignore that for now. I'm gonna try and squint down and group the shapes as best I can. Right? And then within these shapes, we can then focus on our little note here, the color transitions within the shapes. In reality, process-wise, I do wonder if he's done like a base coat of, say, like the skin color, like a mid-tone skin color, and then gone over the top. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to get like a super high res to see if you could see the brush stroke layerings. But let's continue. Let's not concern ourselves with the what ifs. Let's just do the doing. All right. Trying to see through the fancy brushwork and the transitions, and I am just keeping it to one color to begin with, so then we can come through and reassess. I always wanted to visit Australia. Hey, you should. It's a bloody long way away, depending where you are. Was a big Steve Irwin fan as a kid, and the Australia Zoo is on my list of places to visit of him. That's probably super touristy move though. I've never been there. We've got pretty good zoos around the place, but like not even zoos, like the wildlife parks where you can go and see kangaroos and all that sort of stuff, and the emus. Like that's good fun. What artist are you studying today? This is JC Leyendecker. If you don't know of him, highly recommend getting on him. Candy Cat, hi, I follow you a long time on Instagram. Follow, I found you on Twitch. Ah, fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks for popping in. All right, let's continue. All right, so really separating these shapes, and we can even start to see a little bit of this structure happening already. All right, so even in here, and this kind of ties in a little bit to our realistic study from the other day. I've got to update I'm so slack. The thumbnails of the last two streams don't match what the thumbnails of the actual stream is. Okay, cool. Thought it looked like Leyendecker or Rockwell. Yeah. Yeah, those are massive inspiration. When I first saw Rockwell, I was a kid. I was like, I can't even remember. I was just like, holy shit, how is that even possible? Is that a photograph or what? But like, it's not a photograph because it looks freaking cool as. Not the photographs, don't chill. Don't cancel me. But I was just like, how is that even possible to get a drawing or a painting? I didn't even understand the concept of like oil paints or acrylics or whatever. It's just like, how? It doesn't even make any sense. And especially because I was probably seeing it on very low resolution, whatever it was. Whether it's even print, you can't see, but there's something to be said. If you can, go and see some of this stuff in real life. I've never seen a Leyendecker in real life. It's on my to-dos. But then you can start to see the abstractions that these painters use. Like if you go to like a museum, sometimes you'll see the Impressionists. Like you look far away and you see the painting. It's like, oh, it's beautiful. And you go in and you're like, it's still beautiful, but it's just a jumble of randomness, which is cool. 12 Sloan Leyendecker is my favorite pinup artist. Who has a super recognizable style. This man managed to find his style at that time. It's fantastic. How you doing? Me and Remby, we're having a chat about this. Rembert Montold, if you don't know of him. Cancel an illustrated a photo. And I thought the photo, the photographers Would have a go. It was a slip up. Forgive me. Well, Stuffer, what's going on? Artistic, going well. Going well. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, there are some. I can't remember. I think it was like Oleg, something or other. Rember is like a fucking savant with art stuff, right? He's just like I'm like an absolute caveman when it comes to being cultured with art and like art history and that sort of stuff. Remby's way on it, and he found this artist that won like the Paris Art Prize back in when Leyendecker would have been studying. I think it was maybe the Paris, some art prize, right? Back in the day, where it was like would have been like a big thing, and like that was the word around town and that sort of stuff. And Leyendecker would have happened to be studying in that same area, and you can see like Leyendecker-esque influences in that, the one that won the prize, if that makes sense. So you could put the two and two together to say, all right, Leyendecker was in this area, he was studying at this time, that oil painting, it was like one of the biggest like art prizes that was around, and you can see it's like he must have studied, he must have taken some inspiration from that, which is kind of cool. Nicholas, how you doing? So it's like, yeah, everyone has their influences, right? Now, do we? I mean, technically, there's a bit of stuff going on in the background here. Let's not worry about that. Now, within these shapes, I'm gonna do it 2025 style with the filthy plugin. What are you gonna do? But let's look at some of these color shifts within these shadow shapes. No, see, this is the thing. This is the tricky thing. We're trying to figure out process, and it's hard to. Actually, let's leave the shadows as they are. Let's see if we can add in some of the midtones. Let's get that mid-level. Like, it's almost grey here, right? Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Yeah, so some of these mid-level colours here, but it's almost grey. So we can take that into account, but we don't really know because we don't have enough context yet. Norman Rockwell is freaking amazing. Oh, yeah. Because I think one of them studied off of one another. Rockwell studied off of Leyendecker, I think. Or with him or something. I wonder what's the equivalent to that piece, to that prize these days. Yeah, I don't know. Good question. I've been painting painting my drawings and started with oil brushes in Photoshop, and it's so hard. Marlon, it's very tricky. I'd recommend looking up like people like oil painters processes. Like that might be a good idea. Just because you're using the brush, it could help some things click, you know. So I can tell that this highlight here, this is like the brightest bright in the piece. This is on top of everything, right? But these little hatch marks here, they're like below everything. And the cool thing with figuring out your fundamentals and all that sort of stuff, also we've got to take into account that this is a reproduction, so this is an image of the oil painting, so this may be a little bit more saturated than what it was. You don't really know. So we're sort of taking, we're working with what we've got, if you know what I mean. So it's going to look a bit splotchy to begin with, but we've just got to be mindful as we're doing this. We don't just want to like copy. We want to understand why. So I see a transition of colors going down here. So I might even put the end transition color as like a reference of where we've got to get to, if that makes any sense at all. Pete Beard has an amazing mini documentary on Leyendecker. Ooh, who actually used to paint with his older brother who had a similar style. Fascinating, I'll have to check it out. Amazingly too is that Leyendecker was a huge part in defining men's fashion in his time for an absurdly conservative audience, and yet he himself was queer. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I had no idea. I started to read his like biography. I'm like, oh shit. And then you see like, I think his partner, like you see the same dude pop up, like the same facial features of the same dude pop up in like all of his paintings. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Fighter so pumped that a gay man was the one responsible for the male fashion in such a conservative time. Leyendecker was a goat. Yeah, he was like a sleeper, like undercover. Like, I'll whip some fashion into these guys. Buck stuff. All thanks for sharing that channel. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Are these RGB color sliders? No. They're hue, saturation, and brightness. All right, so we've got the pink here. So if we squint our eyes, and we're slowly going to make that transition just in color, not even worrying about shape, just in color up to meet this. And when we're doing our own, we can take this thought process into here. So we're not just copying just to get a pretty picture, although hopefully that's the byproduct. It's not the end goal. Also from a Drea front, the course platform, shout out. I'm so ready for it to be launched. I tell you what, I'm missing putting out content. I mean, technically this is content. This is the only bit of content that I have time for right at this very moment. Like during the weeks, this is the only, I think someone asked earlier, like how often do you draw? At the moment, on Mondays and sort of in between bits and pieces, just like the pen and ink in my sketchbook throughout the day when I'm working on Drea, on the development coding stuff. That's about it at the moment. I really cannot wait to sort of jump back in content wise. It feels like, I was talking to someone the other day, it feels like I'm like all my friends are playing outside and I'm like stuck inside. Not stuck because it's so fun. I love doing this, but it's like the feeling like content wise, I'm like, oh, people putting out some cool stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to jump in the arena, you know? Feels like I'm in the car park. I've just turned off the ignition in the car park of the arena. And then I just can't wait to just start smashing some YouTube videos. Exciting times ahead. Also put my, I don't know if I mentioned this the other week. I might have put my, not resume. What's the thing that you put in to get accepted into somewhere? Application to Lightbox. So fingers crossed we get accepted, which will be lovely. But if we don't, doesn't matter. I'm going to be popping over there anyway. All right, so you can see ever so slowly us building up these color blocks. All right, we can even do this over here, and I'm working underneath this this shadow layer. Right, now each artist is going to be different that you study, like style wise, and I reckon it's a good idea. It's really not a bad idea to figure out what you want out of a study before going in, because then you know what success looks like. How would you explain the difference in copying versus studying, or is that just semantics in your opinion? Oh yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying now. Like studying is figuring out what you want out of the thing that you're doing, and having a result that may not be clear to the outside observers, if that makes sense. Like, people looking at this, they might be like, oh, it doesn't really look like a Leyendecker, like, but I'm getting so much out of this, just understanding even just this transition of colors within the shapes of the face. It's that like internal like learning that you're getting, regardless of what it looks like to the outside world, versus copying. I mean, copying, you can have goals, I guess. A copying goal might be like, all right, I want to get this as close to the source material as possible. More power to you. But for me, I want to learn. Not that you can't learn copying, because that's a skill in itself. All right. And I think it is a valuable skill, particularly for what we did the other week with like proportions and stuff. All right. Understanding getting your hand and eye to work with like proportions and distances of the marks that you put down. Beautiful. Lovely. But then I think, for me, that's not enough. So here, the goal is to learn something from the study. That's why it's literally called a study, right? But that's just my 2 cents. I bought Kyle's brushes and had lots of fun using it. Fantastic. It helps too if you're starting to learn for a specific project or a style or something. Exactly. Like, I like even breaking that down further. It's like, all right, even to the point I've gone on like the nose hunt. How do people do noses that I like? Right? And then the ear. How do people do ears in a particular way that I like? Right? And if you actually, you'll be surprised if you haven't done much of this, of the deliberate study of actually looking, instead of just like going and trying to get the quote unquote mileage in. If you sit down and say, okay, in this session, I'm going to figure out why so-and-so's eyes look cool. Get a bunch of references, copy, study. In this case, it would be study. And then very soon after, try and take those understandings and put it on your own character. It's a game changer, man. Like, you'll be surprised, seriously. Julia, what's going on? Welcome back. I need to choose an artist for my art history project, and I don't know who to choose. Any suggestions? I mean, one right in front of you, Mr. JC, wouldn't be a bad option. It depends if there's any like restraints on how far back you have to go. God, trying to draw a nose or eyes is so difficult for me. It's not that I don't know how to draw them, it's that I don't know which style I prefer to use. I know I don't need to stick to one style, but I want one. Yeah, and that's going to be forged by doing repetitive characters over and over again. And then you start to find like a groove, you know, and then mix in some study. And then that way that you do it will like slowly skew off into one way and skew off into another way. Like, that's the fun of it, you know? It's because then no one's going to have the style just like you, because your influences are going to dictate what your style is going to end up looking like. Okay, let's get some of this hair. So here I'm just really focusing on the color. Right, really focusing on the color, how it's melding into one another, the blockiness, still the blockiness of the shapes. and the likeness isn't quite there, but that's just it's a shape issue. Sergeant is called right. Yep, Sergeant. Good call. Okay, now I know this needs to be on the more blue side, the hair, but I'm just blocking this in just so we've got something there, right? So now I can see some blending in the hairline, which is interesting. Some, like the transition of the hair, it's not like a hard hairline transition. There is some blending there, which is good to note. All right, I'm still going to just focus on the blocks of shape and maybe try and get a bit of the similar value. Way too dark there. Better. And also squinting down helps with the color as well. All right, it's just getting rid of, well, this is way too blue. Way too blue. We need to desaturate the living shit out of that. Get out of here. Way too blue. This is the thing with like oil paint as well. The colors will mix between one another in not such a formulaic way. So you'll get a little bit of the his mixing in some of the blues and the grays and stuff of his skin tones and whatever. So it's like controlled chaos. But one thing with Leyendecker, well, actually with Rockwell, going back to like, oh, how did he do it and how did he make it like look so realistic? For those that don't know, he used a lot of photo reference, like a shit ton of photo reference. He did multiple studies, right? Because you got to think these guys, they were churning through these pieces at like the height of their careers, where they're doing like the Saturday Evening Post, like all the magazine covers and that sort of stuff. They don't have the luxury necessarily to like muse over an idea or like a painting for like months and months and months and months. But no, this is like, you got to get this out, babe, tomorrow. So they used a heck of a lot of photo reference, got the studies down, so that when it came time for the final, they knew exactly what they had to do. It was like surgical in a way, which is kind of cool. Ginny Art, great to have you. SRJ, welcome. Art Girl, how you doing? I just want to say sometimes it's as simple as just get a painting you like and do any kind of study of it. You always get something, because for a long while I would get overwhelmed about it and not do it at all. Yeah, doing like a piece of a painting, right? If we just wanted to study the highlights, I might just do like the nose study. You know, if this was like too overwhelming or whatever, just grab a little piece of it and sort of go from there. You don't have to do the whole thing. Again, it's down to what you're trying to get out of it. Because I think there potentially is some I know there's some hesitation, because I've felt it, to not just do a little part of something or whatever, because it might not look as good, right? If you show other people, like, it's not like show-offable. In this mode, in study mode, who gives a I gotta stop swearing. I'm catching myself. See your art dropped in Insta. Jeannie, thank you. It's nice to see you stream on Twitch. I hope you plan on continuing. Very fun to watch your work. Thanks for sharing it with us. Of course, Casey. Yeah. No, I'm multi-streaming. Oh, fat Cappy, you crazy kid. Look at you. Getting around the... I don't even know if they're... I think shit should be fine. Like, what am I going to do? I guess this like technically can be a family channel, but it's also like after watching it and your kids have some questions about what words were said. I don't know if that then does take it away from the family. Something I don't know. Top bloke here. What's going on? No word ban this time. That's it. Yeah, I want to do some more tutorials, some more sketch notes. I want to get back into the sketch note stuff. Like crap scenes acceptable. It was in Shrek. Okay, fair. But also, I don't profess to have for this to be a kid's thing. I can't. Like I say what I say, and that's it. And that's the way this is going to be sustainable. I couldn't imagine like censoring myself every however like whenever I'm on camera. I'll do it strategically in YouTube videos only because you know, like if you I think it's like if you swear within the first like 30 seconds or whatever, it'll, I don't know, apparently flag it as something, but then you see some videos and they just pop and it's full of it, so I don't know. All right, so we're starting to get somewhere, right? Riri, so you're gonna need a swear jar. Definitely gonna. I've thought about like coding one up. Toros Fest. Son, he was throwing Mustafa. Oh Christ. Surprising you only have 4, but they're very good. Thank you, top bloke. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more where that came from. Coming soon. Yeah, that mic. It's honestly, I don't think it's the mic. I think it's the area I'm in. There is some weird radio interference that happens. I hear it in my headphones as well, and there's nothing in this room that I've tested it out. I had to take back like an $800 fucking what kind of microphone is it? It's the shotgun mic, because it was picking up a freaking horse race that's happening like that way. So I was like recording, and in the background it's like, hey man, so absolute nightmare. So I literally think it's just the area I'm in. I'm just like in a very unlucky area. So forgive me for the random things. Okay, where are we going now? We're getting a little bit off topic. No, not off topic. That's fine. The topics are fine. Me focusing on this, that's a whole other story. So where are we at? We've got a block in. That's cool. Now I can see the saturation needs to be bumped up in a couple of areas, which is fine. We can understand that. What I want to start doing is blocking out some of these shapes, these smaller shapes, let's say. Right, and even some of the internal color shifts within that shadow shape that we've made, because there's a whole section here which is a reflected light that we're missing as well. That can maybe come in later, but I can see even in the eyelid here, super saturated, but I can't quite tell if that's some of the underpainting that he's done, or he's come over the top to do some of that saturation on the eyelid there. I would hesitate to say probably a bit of both. You can see a bit of that in the ear as well. So I reckon Yeah. And that's the tricky part with some of these hatching. You can, like, quote unquote, fake it and just like whip the hatchings in there just because. All right. But it's really like the underpainting that's coming through. And there's like different layers. Like this one, I think is like, this is a complete guesstimate. But I'm thinking like this ear. Oh, the freaking. Sorry, Instagram. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. This ear here is like on the lowest layer. It's like thinner paint, let's say. But here you've got some of the cross-hatching stuff of the rosiness of the cheeks going over that skin tone, but that's thicker paint because it's not going all the way through underneath to the underpaint. I don't know. I know what I'm saying. I'm rambling. Let's continue. Yeah, Marlon, you wait. You hang around long enough, you'll hear it. Gene, I come to observe more than anything and to support since my English is not very good for me, but I love your work. I hope you have a lot of success. Thank you so much. Thanks for popping in. I'll leave you the view while I practice my drawings a little. Thanks so much, Jeannie. Means a lot. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about with trying to understand what's going on, thinking a little bit deeper than just like the face value of what's the 2D shapes that I'm looking at here, which is helpful. Like it might be worth, because there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's just because I'm just stopping and starting. A whole bunch of stuff I'm thinking about, which I can't quite articulate while I'm doing it. Might be a video, could be a video idea. You never know. And then the outcome is me then see, look at that. The highlight, I mean, it's not amazing, but because we've set up this understanding of that rounded form, slightly lighter value, slightly darker value coming into the shadow, we whip this bad boy in here. Bam, bam, boom. We've got that illusion of a shiny forehead. A rudimentary shiny forehead, but nonetheless, the forehead, she is shiny. So it's like the little icing on the cake kind of thing. Same here with the nose. Right, boom, boom. Now we've got shiny nose. Right? The setup. We've got to set it all up to then go bah, with the highlights. Weren't there a lot of drama about his process? He didn't want anyone to know his process or something? I've got no idea. We'll figure it out. And then there, like, I don't know if, like back in the day, I think it was Vermeer, like the whole camera obscura, that whole thing. I can understand them being a little bit more cagey about their process. I'm whipping in some of this saturation in the shadows, which is going to give it a little bit more life. The shadows, particularly with like the red shadows, the blue shadows, the naturally chromatic colors in the darker value ranges. They're so fun to really just like push them. But even within this shadow shape, now I'm kind of like building back that shadow shape with thinking about the color transitions within the shapes. Right? Here is not as dark as down in here. There could be many reasons for that. It could just be the lighting setup that he had. It could also be getting your focus down in here more so, because you don't necessarily want to be like up in it, like, oh, this is a beautiful part of the hair, although it is. Here is where we really want to focus, right? So let's here. Let's just really block this in, because we can come back and, like for example here, we can come back and add the little bits and pieces. See, this is the stuff that I think you could very easily get caught up in, is all these little shapes, but they're really not teaching us anything if we haven't got everything else locked in, if that makes sense. Sarah, hi Ben, always excited to see what you've got to show us each Sunday. Thank you very much. Thanks for popping in. The saturation looks delicious. I know. So we've got to push it even more. So here, even here on the cheek, all right, we can really push that little section here. All right. And then everything else, we need to really knock in that saturation, but we'll get there. No stress. We will find our way. I want to kind of creep up on this. In these highlights, right? Because here we've got this whole, I think this is actually a bit higher if I'm honest. And then here ducks down quite a bit, like this brow. We're not going for perfection, we're going for learning. So if we cut that away, it still holds up. All right. All right, let's continue. Let's knock it. Let's saturate this up. It's right underneath here, the eyes. Well, and we're kind of doing like an accidental, in a way, hatching that Leyendecker is doing between these shapes that we're making. You know, it's not hatching. It's not hatching. That's a wrong word. But it's like the gaps between the paint strokes to kind of give the illusion that it's still like a form, but it's still gappy. So yeah, so try something a bit different today, you know. Experiment, not going straight into the stylized. Share a little bit of how I would go about studying an old master. So even here, I think we can bump that saturation and the values a little more. Now here we've got to do some work, all right? I don't want to spend the whole stream necessarily on this. We'll get what I get out of it, and then we'll get to our own. I mean, technically, if you get what you want out of it, you can stop right here. Right? Have you learned what you need for the project that you're working on? Great. Get to work. Alright, so let's zoom out and see how we're going. And even me doing this little study, right, I'm going to carry some of these learnings, however small, into my next painting. Alright, I might remember that, oh yeah, there's like transitions between the shadows. Transitions between the shadow shapes. Okay, now here, without going all into the little nitty gritties of the wrinkles, let's just block this whole shape in here, right, to begin with. Then we can start modeling it. Then we can start bringing it out into 3D land. And also while you're doing this, I would recommend asking yourself why. Like, why is this value change here? Why is this like side of the nose got this little shape here? Right, well, when you start asking the questions and your brain starts to go, okay, well, let's think about this. Why? This is a plane. We're still trying to get some structure. It's just stylistically we're messing about with it. And being just very selective with how we're placing these planes and the shapes within the planes and blah, blah, blah. And one thing that I see he's doing here, how he's doing it, I'm not entirely sure. It might be like a glaze or something, or just like a very thin oil paint, but in the transitions between the lights and the darks, really saturated, which I see people do all the time, but he's doing it particularly here, like with the nose. It's subtle, but it brings like a depth to it, like that subsurface scattering kind of thing. I don't even think that would be that. That wouldn't even be a term back in his day, because I think that comes from computer graphics, the subsurface scattering. S. Rayhan Hejri, welcome. So we're slowly getting there. So if I just went straight into the details with these tiny little shapes, I wouldn't be learning anything, if I'm honest. I could make a pretty picture, but that's about it. But how we simplify these shapes is where it's at. Okay, let's get this right here so it's easier just to adjust quickly. So there is this nice little triangle shape right here, like bam, that kind of encapsulates this. And these are all decisions that you can make in your own work. Like, where can I like connect some of these shadow shapes? That's what he's doing here. Yeah. Alright, let's come here. Boom. Yeah, get the hair feeling somewhat okay. Now there needs to be some turning. This is feeling too flat, so that's a thing. Alia, how you doing? This is feeling way too flat, right? So we've got to make sure that we're turning this. Oh, really? Oh, fine. As always, technical difficulties. Never a dull moment. What's going on? Interesting. Okay. I think Instagram has put a cap on how long you do lives for, potentially. Let's try again. Give me the stream key. Thank you. Here, so then put OK. Oh, weird. Oh well, Instagram is no longer with us. We'll catch you in the next one. Why can't this stuff just fucking work? I'll never know. Alright. I think this is throwing me off a little bit, so we want to add just a smidge of that, like, okay, to like place him correctly. JR, what's going on? Ali, I'm drawing while watching you. Fantastic. Hope it's doing well. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Okay. Again, don't be stressed if the likeness isn't there. I'm talking to myself at the moment. Don't be stressed because the likeness isn't there, the head angle isn't there, but that's fine. Now, as we go and we get more context, we will need to make adjustments. So don't be afraid if you worked on something earlier on and it doesn't look right now, change it. If it needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. Nothing wrong with that. Now here, this goes into like this really nice like orangey kind of color. Could put this one in there a little bit. Place maybe an indication just for the shape reference, the indication of that highlight on the nose. Right, and that's a cool little thing there. This is the same color here, same value here, same value, and here same value. Right, look at the contrast around the nose where that looks like the start of a highlight, but up here it looks like nothing. All right, it's all about context. Whoa, 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 whoa. Me too, I feel accompanied. Nice one, man. Okay, where are we at? Let's wrap this up. Let's start adding in some of that reflected light because that's going to influence how the shapes are going to look. And I feel like this is an after kind of thing. It's like you would throw this in after within the shadows, like paint layer wise, potentially. Don't quote me on that, but you never know. I think we can start adding in some of these darker shapes that are going to really make that nose pop. And then we got that little sliver. Little sliver of that kind of reflected light also on the cheek there. You got the lashes kind of poking out a little bit. You got this nice, it's little things like this, like the hard and soft edges. Right, if we zoom right in here, you can see that's such a hard edge on that shadow, but it's because the nose is blocking that, and then it's a form shadow on the lid, and that's the sort of stuff that just makes it okay. Let's add in these. Yeah, we need to do what I was saying before. We need to do something here, make this turn a little bit. All right, it might not be super clear at first glance with this kind of stuff as to like, all right, this is looking flat, but why? If it's looking flat, the first thing you should think of, or the first thing that I think of, is the form isn't turning. Right, quite literally, like if it's flat, there's no form. So how can we create form? All right, this is going to be a little bit darker in value up here. Here we can start adding a little bit of the indication of the hair. So yeah, don't know if this is very super interesting. As I said, I'm kind of like, this is just a chill, lower energy sort of stream, but hopefully you're getting something out of it. Now let's see if we can. Iswara Rodriguez, how you doing? I really like the shapes of the ear and how deep the eyes look. Yeah, a lot of that has to do with the lack of detail in the shadows and like really punching that saturation and the values like darker. Now I want to actually here, see I'm bouncing around a little bit. I want to get rid of this line because that is kind of throwing off the illusion. It feels a bit better. Now here, really important thing that I've seen here. Currently this is flat. This is just one single shape. Okay. This, in reality, curves. Or what we're trying to represent is like a curve of some sort. So how we're going to do that is we're going to slowly stair step these values. And we do the same with color mixing in oils, right? Right, we might even just touch this value up just like ever so slightly. So now that starts to round this off, particularly if we add a transition value between this dark sort of corner of the mouth and the sort of lip thingy. And also I'm seeing the transition between a darker, like this value, and there's like a shape here. So let's highlight that a little bit more. So here, there's like a highlight, or the values are brighter, let's say, instead of calling it a highlight necessarily. Which then comes back to our thinking about color transitions within shapes, right? Let's make this a little bit of a transition here. Let's flip it, see if we can see anything that's standing out to us. Right, see how that kind of reads as a little bit more bulbous, which is kind of what we want. Lucien, how you doing? So this is also a good practice on like color selection. It will even help out with traditional as well. Like we're trying to gray it and desaturate it. We're trying to saturate it and push it towards a certain color. Same thought process, you know. Now this can be quite a bit darker in value. Now let's add in. Now I've done no smudging, no blurring, no nothing. You can probably see that because it's quite like choppy. But it still reads the transitions still start to read because it's all values. How you put them down is just a stylistic thing, right? Okay, yeah. See if we can get these transitions between these shadow shapes. What we can do is we can come back through and find the wrinkles. This shape is a little bit too. Let's reassess where we're at. Large shapes wise, so we've got the eye here, there's another shape in here. This hair could actually come right the way in here. Right, so it's all adjusting all the time. Do not be afraid. And this hair kind of carries through. This is something that we can learn from this as well. This hair shape, around about that kind of color, a little bit more yellow. Something like that. That hair shape kind of follows this cheekbone through, which is cool. Gatsu-sama, do you squint to assess values? Is it necessary? It's not necessary. You do what you want. I find it helps me to assess the values a lot, but I'm also checking back and forth with like the logic of what I'm trying to do as well. For example, here I want to make sure this side of the head feels like the side of the head because the planes have to change, so I know that the value has to be a little bit darker than up here. So then I'll check to see what my reference is doing, and then make the adjustment instead of only necessarily just squinting and going back and forth, because then that just gets into like copying territory, if that makes sense. Yeah, it feels kind of blended. Yeah, exactly. You can get so much done with just these shapes. Now, I think what we can do here is actually darken down a lot of like this. I think what I've done so far is okay, but all this has to be like darkened down and warmed up a little bit. Just like ever so slightly. Yeah, you can spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing this stuff. I find it very, very fun, but it's not like, it depends. If you're looking to study, I don't think it's like a brain switch off kind of thing. There are brain switch off moments if you're just copying. Right, but if you're studying, you kind of want to be like aware of what you're doing. Particularly as you get better, because you know all the little tricks, you know all the little things that you can do to make it look a certain way, but then again it comes back to what are you trying to get out of the study? What's the point? Here I think that can be ever so slightly brighter. We can zoom it right the way out if we want to see where we're at. Zoom it out with this one as well. It's crazy how hard edges always look good with good shapes. I know. No. Right, so we've got to, and at this smaller scale as well, that's why like if you're oil painting or whatever, you really want to like step back all the time. You start to see all the subtleties where it doesn't make sense. Right, I can see here could actually be brighter in value, which logically makes sense because it's facing the light more. I always want to check my logic when I'm doing this instead of just doing stuff just because. All right, this could actually be a little bit deeper and more saturated. Back at the hair, kind of looks like, gives me like octopus vibes, like that hair. Right. Knock that back here, shine there. And then this could be another way to study as well. Start off ultra small and then sort of slowly creep your way in. To the more detailed version, I guess. Yeah, there's a very neat, yeah, and I like it. Genie art, great to see you still there. Let's add this in here. Boom, boom, boom. So it's like framing the face a little bit more. And if we wanted to, like a little tip, use your plumb lines or like just straight up and down lines. And your like vertical and horizontal lines, and start measuring. So, okay, where is this corner of the mouth in relation to the eye? Okay, we're about here, but I think we could come out a little bit more. Where's the corner of this nose in relation to that shape? Ah, this could come in a little bit. Right, so you can start making adjustments pretty quickly that way. Just the horizontal and vertical lines. Samuel, can you make a tutorial of stylized animals? Yeah, one day. Practicing my mouse drawings. I don't have a tablet. That's all right. Try the lasso tool with the mouse. Give that a whirl. That's kind of what I'm doing here, just with some fancy auto stuff. All right, with this little study, let's pause this for now. All right, oh, there's so much I do want to just get in there with, but let's just model this around the eye just a tad. Can't help myself. Cannot help myself. All right, from this understanding, all right, this is what we got out of it. The color transitions within the shapes. Okay, so do we have so from where we started to where we got to, you can see how we can slowly just build on top of it, right? So with that, let's get us a little reference image. Whip out a little sketch and then see if we can do something on our own with no pressure. I did have my eye on this one. This looked cool. It gave us an opportunity. I might go ham with the color on the face, like adding more of the reds in the nose and stuff, just for what we've studied here, but just as like a reference for like hairstyle and whatever. Kind of could have some fun with that. Who knows? We shall see. Let's just whip out a quick little study. Oh, quick little sketch, sorry. Appreciate you, Ryan. So we got this, but I want to kind of do it in like a stylized character kind of way, right? So we're not just doing a carbon copy of old mate Joseph. Something on the quicker end of things. Knock it back. And we've done it all on the one layer. Whatever. Let's roll with it. Now, this is kind of a little bit on the flatter side of the lighting, so we might even just invent our own lighting. If that's okay with you guys. If I'm honest, too bad if it's not. That's what we're going to do. I just want like a somewhat decent line work. Now this far eye is tricky. You can very, very quickly make it look a bit weird. Still want to keep these really graphic shapes. Still trying to channel what I've been studying already with stylized stuff, right? But this is not the focus. Just needs something to paint within. And saying that, let's figure out our shadow shapes while we're here as well. This here, the neck might come back a little bit more here. Boom, boom, boom. The eyebrows are kind of hidden. Might want a little bit of indication here. Okay, we've got something. Right, where it's the best thing in the world. I can guarantee you it's not, but it gives us something to then translate some of our learnings onto. Before we get into this, I'm going to refill. All right, and I will see you shortly. On Mandel, let's not spam the chat. And I have no idea. All right. And we're back. So, what did we decide? We're going to make a Raggle Fraggle. Let's just get some of our understanding of the face shape going. There's going to be that there, shine on the hair. This is like a nice opportunity for shine on the hair there, shine on the hair here, which is cool. Okay, lighting. Let's have like shadow across the face from the hair here, the nose, maybe cast in a little shadow over the lip. Shadow under the nose. Alright, then this will be all in shadow to some degree, like the neck. That was a little bit too large. Knock it back. Okay, let us go. Similar process to what we did before. And I recommend getting up other references as well. Like some of these skin transitions are beautiful. Right, how blocky they are, but within the shape itself, it's like a smooth transition. Alright, so we've got to take that into account a little bit. Or wish me luck. Shadow shapes first, let's go. Boom. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the shadow shape. Boom, boom, boom. Cool, good start. I'm going to want to just finagle with this sketch. That's the issue. No, we shall not. Restraint. Okay, now we've got this shadow shape. Let's saturate it a tad. Let's bring it down. What would you say is your favorite part about picture making, or what got you into it in the first place? Like with a lot of things, I really enjoy the figuring out of it and that struggle, and then the lack of struggle, and then discovery. You have to think less about the thing that you're doing. You think more about the ideas, less about the process and more about how you're going to use that process to make something look cool. You know what I mean? I'm very process, like I love the end result. For me is kind of like, oh, okay, on to the next, you know? I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone, but That's very much how I enjoy a lot of like skill-based things, like whether it be coding, whether it be going to the gym, whether it be like anything skill-based. That's the most fun. It's that like, it's like the mist dissipates and you can finally see like what all these people were talking about this whole time, and that's just amazing. I love it. Follow-up question: what's your dream project, if there is one? I honestly don't know, if I'm honest. I just joined. Love your art. Is that Leyendecker in the references? 1 yuan? Yep. We did a little study earlier, just of the color palette. And now we're trying to translate that understanding onto this character. Now, chalk and cheese between the subject matter, old, wrinkly bloke, not wrinkly bloke, you know? Yeah, I've been told to find a process I love, not a kind of picture I love. That's part of it. Like it's a tough one. You gotta. There's going to be different answers for different people of like why they do stuff. But like project wise, I think I'm working on it right now. Like project just as in, I really love business. I really love building things. I really like putting out products. I really like content. I really like drawing. So like this new course platform, that's the dream project that I'm working on at the moment. You know, like I don't know if you meant more on the end of like a drawing art project, but I kind of feel like it's the same. Don't know how to find a process. I'm still seeking for a process. You know what I mean? I could do this 5, 6, 7 different ways, and they could potentially all have a very, very similar looking result with slight little subtle differences. So here I'm definitely going to be punching up the colors in comparison to the reference, right? I'm going to way exaggerate stuff because that's what Leyendecker did, really. Samuel Hayben, did you work on arcane concept art? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. You're too kind to think that, but no, I didn't. No, I didn't. That would have been cool though. Yeah, every time I make a new thing, I figure out a new way. Yeah, that's it. That's the fun of it as well. Alright, let's figure out what's going on here. So, with the lighting scenario that we've got, the light's going to be hitting this way. Experimenting is how I try a new process and new mediums, yeah. And I like to do it on a smaller scale as well. Make little sandbox experiments where it's like low risk. If it fails, you've not sunk a whole bunch of time in it. It's just kind of, it is what it is, and sort of move on. So what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to make sure I'm getting these shapes in, but I'm transitioning the shapes. Right, just like we had before, there's like a transition between this nose color, and there might be like a transition color here. Something really, really smooth, really subtle. Because the way he painted is like the smoother skin as well. There are a lot of subtleties. This may not have been the best reference based on just what we've just studied, you know. That's alright, we'll roll with it. we'll make do with what we've got. Alright, let's even block in the hair. Now I don't want to go full value range with the hair necessarily. Block it in, block it in. Now I'm kind of playing on double hard mode because I'm kind of inventing the light source at the same time, which is fine. Darken it down a little bit. I like to make that a little bit on the more blue end of the spectrum, which would be nice. I see a little bit of that in the reference. A little bit of greens even as well. Ryan Wood, sometimes when people say, I love your style, me, what style? I have a style. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sometimes it just happens. But hey, if you make a tutorial about animals or fur, I'll watch it as soon as possible. Good to know, Samuel. I'll add it to the list. If I do tutorials, I think I'd like to do them in context of like a project or something. Like I'm doing this character and it just so happens to have fur. How do we do that? Boom. So it's like, I like contextual stuff. It makes a heck of a lot more sense to me than like isolated little tips and tricks. They're fine, they're cool and whatever, but if there's a way to actually have some stuff in context, explain some stuff in context, that's like pretty nice. Do we do like a more across the whole head kind of shadow? I don't know. Raggle Fraggle, is the light source in front and slightly over them? Yeah, kind of like if you look at the, I guess it can definitely change, but if we were to look at the shadow shape, right? This here, it's kind of coming down, right? The nose, shadow shape coming down a little bit. And then the hair, in reality, this could actually just be like everywhere. Like if that was if we're trying to follow it like 1000% correctly. But I'm gonna swap and change stuff. Doesn't really matter. But what I want to focus on are the transitions in the colors. Right, like here it might be like really like saturated, really deep and saturated. Right, and remember what we learned with the nose here. Super saturated part between the shadow and the light. We can utilize that and even utilize that here as well. Just a little bit. But then this shadow here might skew down into more of the flesh tones. Right, it's not going to necessarily be all one shadow color, so we can start adding a little bit of that variation into the shadows. Maybe you could do the typical like blue shadows, but here we're trying to keep in this kind of vibe, like warm light, cool shadow kind of thing, which is all nice and whatever. Here I do want to add a shadow with the lash, which makes sense. Fun Guns, what's going on? Welcome back. Faylene, could you or would you ever consider making a filthy autofill plugin for Procreate? They don't. I don't think that's possible. They've got a pretty locked off system. Otherwise, yes. Wait, does Procreate have plugins? I haven't heard of them before. Yeah, no, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Because it's on the iPad as well. Like, it's a pretty locked off kind of system. I'm just trying to survive in this economy, and Photoshop ain't helping that goal, so I haven't used it. That's fair. That's fair. I think Clip Studio might have something similar. It's not exactly the same as the Filthy plugin. Critter's cool. I do like Critter. And it's free. So I'm going to take some cues here from old mate Leyendecker. No, we're going to keep it. We're going to keep it blocky. Keep it blocky. Don't get ahead of ourselves. Boom, boom, boom. Here, right in that corner, that's going to be quite a bit darker, I think. If we were to make it a little bit more on the realistic side. Right, so that shadow might come in there. But it might be like a really like subtle, smooth transition. Do we want to? So this is where all of our learnings have to come in. What are we doing here with the eye, right? How are we making these decisions on where this line should go? Well, we've got to think about the wireframe. I mean, you don't have to, you do what you want, but I like to think about the wireframe of what all the 3D forms are doing. Right, this wraps around, the eye wraps around like that. It's a bit hard to see here. Okay, this lid tucks in back behind there. This is like a 3D shape. If you were to cast a shadow onto this would kind of tuck behind it and kind of like wrap around. So that's what I'm thinking about here. Critter even runs Tetris. Yeah, Clip Studio is paid. It's like a lot cheaper. Ben, tell me if I understand correctly. If I don't want black for shadows, use saturated colors instead. That's an option. Yeah. Yeah, give it like a saturated blues, saturated reds, depending on what you're doing. But you've got to take into account, right, that each color each, let's call it each hue. So if you think of a color, the hue is like yellow, green, blue, red, whatever. Each of those have a natural local value at its like purest form, like its most saturated. So if I tried to get a really saturated yellow, for example, right, and I wanted to put that in the shadows right here, I bump up the saturation. At this value, it's quite dull. That's as kind of saturated. If I'm trying to match that value, right, it's quite dull. But if I wanted a saturated blue in that same value range, right, that's going to be like, oh, bam. You know, so different colors are going to, yeah, you can do certain things with some colors in certain situations than you can with others, right? What we've got to think about here as well, I see it particularly in this, is this really nice wrapping of the forms on either side. All right, so here we want to make sure, particularly even like on the nose, that we are turning the values. All right, and depending on the light source, this would actually be quite a bit lighter, I think. Right, and then in here might even be quite bright, because that's where like that plane is going to be facing us. Right, and even here you can add, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but you can start to see our setup has allowed us to add some of these highlights in areas that make sense. Now, just like here in this top lip, right, I want to make sure we get a transition here with this lip in particular, even wrapping around to the other side of the face, and even this bottom lip here. So it's going to be lighter on top and then sort of slowly transition down. Again, what we tried to learn, and our big note for the session, color transitions within shapes, right? And I guess you could say value transitions as well. DPK, how you doing? Great to have you. I don't see the wrapping. It's feeling round and meaty, but like, how do you indicate this type of round plane? Through values and understanding where that light source is. All right, so that's why I wanted to structure the light source in a way that I want first. So then that is going to give us the indication of everything moving forward. All right, so with the wireframes here, this dips in, right, wraps around, dips, maybe dips in about there. All right, the roundness of the eye, this cheek, right? Depending on how rappy you want to get it. Almost think of it like a cyborg, even if you wanted to add some sort of, I don't know, cyborg-esque kind of things. How would those actually wrap around the face? You know? Ray, how you doing? Great to have you. Hope you're doing well. October. What program are you using to draw? It's Photoshop. You got the buddy. You got caps lock. Chimera. No worries, October. Okay, so this will kind of duck in there. We might actually see more. So here we can look at this sort of relationship where how the light on one side cuts into that eyelid, and then on the other side, if we wanted to make it more naturalistic and a little bit more realistic, it kind of is a smooth transition, which gives it a little bit of that realism. Feels like sunlight or some kind of light. I want to get it into digital art, but I don't know what program to use. Whatever you can get your hands on. Critter's a good option just for testing stuff out. Ben, you can do dubbing for plain Jane and cartoon in your website. What do you mean, Ryan? Dubbing? You're talking about like speaking? How do you balance freedom of shapes and not just going based on the wireframes? Because I get stripes of values around the anatomical features. I get freedom of shapes. Well, that's where the design comes in. You know what you have to do? Right? Well, not have to do, but like you know what is going to give the effect that you want. Now it's up to you how you display that, how you make the decisions. All right, that's completely up to you and kind of hard to like without seeing your work give you any kind of pointers. But it's going to come with practice, of course, like you know this. But it's like, I know that this eye here has to feel round. How am I going to do that? I could come through here and really blur all this out and make this feel like super, super rounded. Right? And then I could come through and then really put like a sharp little highlight in there. That gives that a one look or one feeling. The principles are the same. The execution of it is different versus what I've had before. If I undo that, this more blocky, painterly kind of style, not even painterly, just like more geometric kind of style. It explains or it describes the same thing just in a different way. The execution of it is different, let's say. So that's completely up to you. Voice acting, imagine, I'm not even going to try with plain Jane. Biku, how you doing? Biku Talks Football. Great to have you. Sarah, what would you say has been one of the most helpful tools in understanding light and color and how they behave on a subject? Separating out matte and specular reflections. Now that's a whole thing, all right? Eric Williams, how you doing? Thank you very much. Great to have you. That's a whole thing, but that was probably my biggest aha moment of understanding light and shadow. So, for example, are you going to get me? Have you won the tangent competition this street? Maybe you have. Hold on. I kind of want to just keep cruising on this one for a little bit before going into like tangent town. But yeah, thinking about the, what's the word? Yeah, it's called, if you want to get nerdy with it, it's called Lambertian reflection and specular reflection, right? And the difference between those two and how they interact with the objects in different ways, absolute game changer. Which is why I'm making a course all about that in a more sort of digestible way, because you can go deep into the nitty gritty of it, but I'm not so sure that that's helpful, at least when you're starting out. Some things I think you've just got to like roll with it and like, okay, this is what it is. This is the effect that it gives. And then if you want to go deeper, then you can kind of take the time to learn more about the physics stuff. Not even the physics stuff, but just like why it happens and blah, 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 blah. If that makes any sense at all. Hopefully it does. I can't remember if I said hi to Everick. Everick, how you doing? Thank you very much. Faylene, for me, just doing lighting studies on landscape using watercolor traditionally at different times of day really helped. That sounds fantastic, Faylene. Also, learning to really see value so you can play with colors and still have form look lit correctly. Yeah, that's it. But for me, it's like really understanding the why. For my brain, I have a hard time just even with value studies, and we talked a little bit about this as we were having the conversation around copying versus studying, right? I have a hard time just like doing things because that's how you're meant to do them. I need to understand why for me to actually grasp the thing, if that makes sense. Yeah, I could do like a million value studies, but if I'm just ending up just like copying, at a certain point I'm like, why is, like, yeah, you can start to see patterns, definitely. You can definitely start to see patterns. But it gets to a point where it's like, all right, I want to get out of study mode, and to do that I've got to understand why the light is behaving a certain way. So then I can invent lighting scenarios so I don't have to necessarily be like tied to the reference so much all the time, you know? Bug stuff, I am not very daring with light. Not yet. Not yet. Alright, I hope we can see this Leyendecker influence slowly starting to creep in. Particularly with the colour. The color is where I like the color transitions. Why don't you do Blender anymore? It's a time thing. I want to do, like, I've got so many plans for like content and doing cool shit. At the moment, it's literally just, I've only got so many hours in the day. I'm literally like waking up, gym, home, code, eat, code, eat, code, snack, code, bed. Do it again. Except for stream days. Right, except for Monday. The problem I'm trying to knock out at the currently is drag and drop between lessons and sections, because you can do a slapdash version of drag and drop, but there's just not going to happen. I'm not going to let that fly. Like there are shortcuts you can take, but I've got to make it reliable and like super fast. Like I want it to be almost desktop level, because if I'm spending all my time in it, because I'm building it for myself as well, right? Because I'm going to be using it all the time, I've got to make sure it's something that I'm going to be happy spending many hours in. I'm so used to grayscale, now getting into color again. I mostly always draw dinosaurs or creature and get lost in the details too much, to be honest. Amaronduck, that sounds fun as hell. I want to draw some more dinosaurs and stuff. I love dinosaurs. I want to do like a whole series on, like we had the character with like the gorilla and the girl. I kind of want to throw a dinosaur in there as well somehow, like that Jane Goodall one from like a while ago. Sushil, how to paint form shadows without blending. Very tiny value transitions. All right, so if we want to, because we're working in the midtones right here. If we want to make a transition, let's say between the light of the cheek, okay, and going slowly into this sort of like shadow. Well, not even shadow, it's just kind of like the darker side of the midtones. All right, or even this chin is probably a good one to do it, right? The subtle sort of bulge of like, I don't know what you even call this part of your cheek. It's not your jowl, but it's just like that below the corner of the lip. Right, we really want to kind of stair step the values. And this gives like a very particular look of the face. Nothing like the reference. She has a little bit of it here, but nothing like this. I've just gone and done this for, I don't know, because I felt like it. But very, very slowly stair step our way up in value, right? And then same here. This is going to be cutting back into that kind of shape. Again, learning from Mr. Leyendecker, we want to start designing our shapes a little bit more in the face here. So maybe this is a little bit more of a design, let's say. All right, we might want to add in a little bit of this kind of deal. Right, we can slowly start to add form just by doing these really subtle value shifts. Now, even here, although I don't necessarily want like a crazy crease from the nose to the corner of the mouth, I still want to show that there is a little bit of a transition there. Right, and this then comes back down to the wireframing way of thinking of, all right, if I was to draw, get a Sharpie and draw around all of these lumps and bumps. Literally, if I was just like to walk up to her face right now and just go start drawing, this gives me the indication of where to put stuff. And it's all up here at the moment, right? Like, I'm not drawing this all the time, but it's not a bad idea to actually go through and draw that as you're learning. Sarah, that's a great answer. I agree with the issue of constant copying. Nice to understand the rules so you can have freedom in your art without being so married to the reference. Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. Understanding is just like, oh, because then you get excited to like get up in the morning. You're like, oh, let's try this, let's try that. It kind of like opens up a whole plethora of just stuff to have fun with. I've also been using the lasso a lot to quickly color. Very useful tool, as I spent so long not using it. Oh, it's a great little tool. I love it. All right, we zoom out. We're getting the vibe. All right, and even with the hair here, we want to make sure that we're doing that same kind of transition deal as we're wrapping around the hair. These are just like ribbons, essentially. All right, darker on the bottom, shinier in the middle, and then slowly getting darker as it kind of gets away from us. This might even be a slightly lighter because it's going to be facing the light a little bit more. All right, trying to give it form. Easier said than done. Pinhead, yeah, it did look like that, didn't it? Hello, hello. I can't pronounce your name. Car? Oh, how you doing? All right, let's quickly jump back up into the sketch layer. All right, still reading without the line work, which is cool. Making me want to draw another dinosaur again. What should make you want to draw another dinosaur? Greg Broadmoor. I think that's his name. Greggy boy. Greg. Yeah. Check out this dude's stuff. Bam. That's what I'm talking about. How sick is that? Look at that. Oof. Yeah, he's one of the, he works at Weta. One of the concept artists there. Those jaws, I know, right? Yeah, that's the thing. The amazing colors. Like, it's not just like a cool dinosaur drawing. It's like, yeah, just cool all around. Now, what we can do here is understand that, okay, the light's coming down as the light sort of comes across the face. It's going to be darker. Right? It's going to sort of transition down in value ever so slightly. We can see that kind of here, brighter up the top and slowly transitioning down into like the darker values. Okay, although he's probably got like 5 o'clock shadow and blah, 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 blah. Here, we still want to have a little bit of that. And even as it wraps around underneath the chin, you want to have a little bit of that, you know. This is going to really be dependent on like the type of light. And how intense it is, also the exposure that you want to convey. Does that look weird? I can't tell. Or does that look cool? That's all this is. That's all you're asking yourself most of the time. Does this look weird or does it look cool? And make the adjustment and move. I might even like to add a little bit of split in the hair here as well, just for some visual interest. Yeah, maybe this isn't showing a shadow here. Maybe that doesn't make sense. I love donos, but I really love the feathered versions that people are making now, probably because I draw birds very often. That'd make sense. Slickick Fox, I had no idea how much the lasso tool was used in stylized art. I don't know how much it is, but I use it a ton. I'm not opposed to the other brushes though. No, there's nothing wrong with them. This also constrains us to, like using the lasso tool, constrains us so that we're not relying on brushwork alone when we're studying. It really forces you to, like, I don't know, what are you doing? Are you sure you want to do that? Are you really sure? Because if you do it, it's just going to be very apparent if it doesn't work. Which is cool because it shows all your mistakes, all the learnings that you can have. Right, so there's going to be really subtle, like just like in here. Now we're getting into like the little, small little shapes, sort of vibes here. Still want to design these shapes a little bit though. Don't just want to go willy-nilly. And here we might even have that kind of something right in the corner there, because that's going to be the reflection. Potentially, you never really know. Now I'd like to do some more of these, because you can, like, maybe on different artists, like like studying different artists, making it our own, the key takeaways from that study session, you know, that could be fun. Let's just start drawing on top of everything. So then I can start slowly, like if I want to just change her expression really quick, like right now, just let's make her a little bit more like, just like that. A little bit more like, what are you talking like? See if we can design the shapes even a little bit better. We can always do it a hell of a lot better, but yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, the stream having a specific subject or artist would be amazing. Yeah, just like fold it into the different types of content would be fun. And it's fun for me as well. Like I want to learn. I want to learn stuff. I don't necessarily just want to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. If theorized that some dinosaurs had feathers, any physical evidence wouldn't have fossilized like their bones, so their exterior appearance is debated. There was one though that I saw where there was it wasn't fossilized. I think it was like an amber or something, like the feather. Which is pretty cool. Now, do we do any of the cheeky Leyendecker-esque like brushwork? Why not? We're here. Although I didn't want to use it as a crutch, we can use it to have some fun because there's no rules to any of this stuff. I just didn't want to do it as the only thing and to focus on it, if that makes any sense at all. Doesn't mean that we can't play around. Right, and even in the darks here, I think that's a good opportunity to add in maybe it should be a little bit more on the uniform side, like even here, like hatchy or something that's a little bit more, I think it should be more, a little bit more on the subtle side. So like here, 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 like it's just got to go straight through everything. It almost like doesn't care. The hatches answer to no one. They just peek through whenever they want. Could be just a tad a little bit lighter, maybe. And then we can paint around this. There's something like nice about it as well. There's some like it gives it like a brightness or like a lightness. I think it's also the illusion of the reflected, or as if there's like sunlight coming in and reflecting back into the shadows somehow. Because it's oftentimes in the shadows where he does his hatching, which is really, really nice. We can like carry it through here on the neck. If we just like block that completely in. I'm just really just guesstimating here at the moment, not getting too nitty gritty with it. I did want to show a little bit of that light coming through the face there. And the hair, I think, is somewhere definitely that we can play with some of these hatch marks, let's say. Got to be more on the uniform side. Let's see if we can find some more examples of it in like the real like darks. Yeah, I don't think we've got to overdo it. I think we could even... Or does he even do it too much in the hair? I don't think he actually does it too much in the hair. Yeah, it's a lot in the shadows, right? Yeah, the hair just looks really like sleek and slick and shiny, so maybe we don't. Maybe we leave that. And then we just see if we can get that feeling how we want it. Oh, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. Happy Pixel, I'm doing well. Doing well, how you doing? Just studying a bit of Leyendecker. Always a good day when you're doing that. Alright, we've got this like real intense kind of shine to everything. We're building up that look and feel of that shininess. Not with any fancy brushwork or anything, just purely values. Now I think what we could do we do the cheeky merge everything down? I think we do. I think we might have to. Well, we don't have to, but I want to. Merge it all down. Alright, now we're working on the one layer. That way we can actually come back through. And maybe instead of doing the like the digital way where we would come back through and like cut this back in, you know, and like really clean up our lines. How about we do it the Leyendecker way, where we actually have to paint our way out of some of this craziness. All right. Now, the whimsicalness of this, like this really like hatchy kind of vibe that he has sometimes, comes with brush strokes, right? That looks just so cool. Hard to get that. Like you can see he came right in and really like chiseled some of this out. That looks like thicker paint than what the original was, right? So it would be a nice idea to maybe get like a brush with that texture on it or something. But I'm just gonna do this kind of thing just for now, leaving some gaps so it's not perfect. even coming through here. Cutting back through. Doing okay. Very early morning here. Glad to catch you creating beautiful art. Thank you so much, Happy Pixel. Thanks for popping in. Alright, so we're just cutting and carving away. Like we could even have opportunities to like make some more interesting shapes even. That looks kind of silly, so no. Could even... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking to get finicky with it.
Next to rock like Mick Foley. It's Nick Joby, kill him softly, play that shit slowly. On the keys like Tony, throwing subs, they get toasted. About my bread like a hoagie. This beat ice cold, look how I ride this Zamboni. I feel like old Tony, good anywhere you throw me. She eat a Chobani, cause her body getting bony. Late night, heavy scrolling,
we could saturate this quite a bit more.
We've been already growing, it's like we're drowning in them. It seems the levee's broken, but it's not too late to change them. And refrain from being slaves to the vices that encage them. I'm writing on this page like I'm throwing hands with Satan. Don't run from all those demons, gotta stand your ground and face them. Sometimes you break, but through destruction comes a renovation. We all just trying to build a foundation. We all just trying to build a foundation. We all just trying to build a foundation. Yeah. Liquidity dry, I couldn't quit if I tried. It's been a ride through all the waves and the tides. Little emptiness inside from all them days with the guys. Try to mask it, but I know you see the pain in his eyes. All the lows and the highs, all the gray in the sky. Every reason I should.
Now then you're going to start making decisions how, like all these little bumps and things in the face, how much do you want to accentuate them? How much would you like to subdue them, make them a little less prominent? It's all going to be completely up to you.
To rock like Mick Foley. It's Nick Joby, kill him softly, play that shit slowly. On the keys like Tony, throwing subs, they get toasted. About my bread like a hoagie. This beat ice
Now there
cold,
might even be an opportunity for a bit of reflected light up underneath here, which gives us that saturation that was happening like all right around in here. Yeah, it's not a... It's a small step towards understanding what Leyendecker was doing. Is there a certain type of environment you're picturing your subject in as you draw, or are these decisions more subconscious and intuitive? A little bit. More so the light than anything. Like what kind of lighting is she in? Like the environment could influence, for example, like the reflected light. Let's say, like in the shadows, if she was under blue skylight, then the shadows might skew a little bit bluer. You know what I mean? There is like a structural issue here with the face, for sure. I can see it. I'm not entirely sure. What the solution is, but know that I see it, and you probably see it as well. Maybe because the sun is coming down this way, maybe this can be cut back in. Just a tad. And we could, like old mate did already, add a little bit of that reflected light into the piece as well. It's going to be more on the grayer side. Do you sometimes paint animals? Very rarely, but I'm not opposed to it. So if we were to look at what parts of the face would get that reflected light, could be that. A little bit along here maybe. Love a good little bit of reflected light. Can't go wrong. Let's design these shapes a little bit better. Just think, going back to our study, what makes sense and what are we trying to do? We're trying to color transitions within the shapes. So we can do this as like a shape, let's say, but then within this shape, let's get those color transitions going. It's like a very subtle value shift, or you can put a very subtle value shift within that same shape. So then it still follows the form. I'm getting lost in this. This is fun. I do like the idea as well of having a bit of a flyaway hair kind of thing. This is now just me just like, oh, that'd like visually look nice. But to do it, to keep it in style of what we're doing, just something that's kind of popping out here, we would want to kind of cut it back in with our paint, quote unquote paint. Right, maybe to balance it out, we do a little bit on the back here. So it's just not like a perfect shape of hair. He does it a little bit here as well, which is kind of cool. there's some real flatness here, which is not what we want. I'm just looking over on the other monitor, because that just gives me just an idea of what some of it's looking like from afar. Let's zoom it out. Let's take a look. Marlon, just finished my painting. Thank you for the advice and tips. I enjoy during your stream a lot. Fantastic, Marlon. Glad to hear it. Even want to lighten these up just a tad, just like these little hatch marks. You also might get a slap in the face and thrown in jail if you did that. Hold on, I've got no idea what you're talking about. I'm missing something here. Probably said something to do with the painting that didn't make sense. So around here, I'm feeling like, yeah, that forehead needs a bit of, like, even in the shadows, the forehead needs some planes. I appreciate it, Mustafa. Yeah, slowly getting there. But yeah, don't want to be reliant on the little hatch marks. I want to get the vibe more so than anything. Wow, I just noticed I wasn't on live when I made my comment regarding walking up to the woman with a mark. That makes sense now. Now I know what you're talking about. Oh, that's funny. I'm just like, oh, what did I just say? I got no idea. So I think what we're doing wrong, not wrong, but also not correctly, is getting that feeling of the other side of the face. do want to still capture that roundness, right? What layer mode for grayscale to color transition? What layer mode for... I didn't do that today. No. We didn't do any of that. This is all just straight up painting. But you can use, if the question is just like more general, you can use multiply, the color layer mode. What else? What else? Yeah, I think that's the issue. Right here is the cheek. Isn't following down correctly. Yeah, the color layer mode. The screen layer mode for making things a little bit lighter. I personally just like messing about with the multiply and maybe the screen and see how far you can get with that. Yeah, this gives it a little bit more dimension. She looks a little bit boss-eyed at the moment. Let's make that iris make more sense. But yeah, we can just go keep going and going and going and going and going. And refining and refining. There's lots of little things I'd love to do here. Like there we go, we could really make that reflected light make a little bit more sense, particularly with the eyelashes. Still want to keep it simplified though. Again, this is a study, not a final thing. I'm saying that for myself so I don't try and noodle myself to death. I'm sad I missed a lot of your progress you made to learn from. Is there a way to rewatch your streams? Yeah, just click back to the beginning. They're all saved. So go for it. I would like to try and see if we can get some of this. I do have to head off shortly, but something wrong with the eye. It's too like in your face. Like it's kind of like, what if I did the shadow all the way across this? Does that make any more sense? Or the shadow is a little bit less, so then you actually see more of this. These are all questions that I don't have the answer to. But then this is going to be brought up a little bit as well. I don't know. But what did we try and get out of this? And have we gotten anything out of this? Well, I think I got a little bit of the subtleties in the color shifts within these shapes, which is great, which was what we set out to try and do. Speaking of, let's add a very subtle shape in there, and even right next to this. There, nice. Too much, too much, too much. Maybe this needs to be darker as a whole. Yeah, we could tweak the living daylights out of this and just keep going and going and going. But I reckon what we might do is call it a day, maybe. Make the hair a little bit shinier. Actually, think this is distracting. Too much stuff going on. Cut it in here, cut it in there. Maybe this. That might feel a little bit better. Yeah, just tweaking the shapes. I haven't had that much coffee. Yeah, there'll be things like this, like coming underneath the eye, really solidifying some of these shapes, I think is the next steps. And in doing this, you get like kind of a natural, kind of like a natural gradient between all these shapes. Wake up tomorrow, the painting will become more beautiful itself. That would be lovely. I don't want to rely on going to sleep and waking up. If you don't know, welcome back. I've been a long time no see. I just came to say hi since I got some kind of art block and it's hard to draw again. Anyways, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear it. Hopefully that doesn't last long. You can get back to making some cool stuff sooner rather than later. So I reckon as I'm cleaning up some of these shapes, I will mention a couple of things. If you like this stylized stuff, you can check out my 8-hour 10-chapter walkthrough tutorial. Comes with a 40-page PDF field guide and some 3D models. Links in the description. If you like the speed at which these lasso shapes are filled and you use Photoshop, you will love the Filthy plugin, which is what I'm using right now. Links right in the description. And that's about it. Working on a new course platform, but that is, I'll let you know about that when that's ready, hopefully soon. And let's just slowly refine these shapes, even down to the highlight, right? Not everything has to be just like stark whites. And even here, this probably shouldn't be stark white. It should sort of like build up slowly into maybe a bit of a highlight, but nothing too crazy. Friendly neighborhood artist. How you doing? Great to have you. So we can take cues from this eye here on how he's handled some things. Now, I still think here is probably a little bit too bright, so I think we can really knock this down in value. Brew, how you doing? I think, yeah, we could benefit from knocking this down slightly in value. Corner of the eye. Knock it down slightly in value. Yeah, because this is way too bright, I'm thinking. And this, I don't like this tangent here, so we can maybe here. There we go. We found it. That looks better because it makes sense with the cut, the split in the hair. How that would be casting the shadow in that way. This should probably still be cutting. No. Better. Here we need to knock it down in value. Way down in value. Catch you later, Mustafa. Thanks for popping in. Mustafa. B Mokmo, I think it's like 4,000 by 4,000, but I'm only using this like tiny little corner. That's why, so I can like hop around and do different stuff. So this on top here, this should definitely be darker in value. That feels a little bit better. Still feels a bit awkward, but feels a tad bit better. Let's see if we can add in some of that real saturation there. Saturation right in there, which can help bring it out a little bit more. Yeah, so we're getting some real like volume happening here, you know, particularly around the mouth, and it's giving her like it's making her look like her if she was like a real person, right? Her mouth does this particular thing. It's like less generic. I think these ticks should probably be going in the same direction, but that's fine. Also, I've noticed like he adds like a dark outline around a lot of stuff. Not the whole way through, not always, but there is oftentimes like a dark outline. That's why I've added that one here, and even like around the cheek here. Maybe we need a bit more color around the eyes, I think, like a different shift of the hue. So maybe like more purples around the eye could make it feel a little bit better. And here it mightn't be a bad idea to actually plane the nose off a little bit more as well. Now you can just keep going through and finding stuff. Where could we make this make more sense? Where could we make it feel more Leyendecker-y? Where could we really solidify some of these shapes? He wouldn't do that. I'm going to keep it simple. This nose is an opportunity to add that slight darkness around the edge as it turns away from the light. Even through here with the you get up close and you see how simple it is. Well, not simple, but you know what I mean. Now we're getting into the subtleties of stuff. Alright, I reckon we'll leave it there. Good little study session. So we started off with this guy here, based on this. Better reference. Alright, got what we needed from the color shifts and the color bits and pieces. And then we tried to incorporate that into our own little character sketch. Right, based off of that reference. Not bad. Learned a couple of things. Reminded myself of a couple of things where it's always a good idea to design some of the shapes versus just try and blend everything. And doing this just forces you to do it that way. Otherwise it's just not gonna work at all. I'm gonna stop myself. All right. With that, I'm gonna head off. Lovely to see you. And we learned to make sure we're on live and not watching early parts of the session. Okay, I learned that. Nice one. No, you're all good. You're all good. Thank you very much for everyone that's popping in to these streams. It really means a lot. There's going to be a lot more content coming very soon. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. Done the plugs already. I'll catch you in the next one. Monday, 10:45 Australian Central Daylight Time. 4:30 PST Sunday. Every week. I'll catch you then. See you next week.